Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Pleasanton, world's greatest Rotary Club. This meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing on the YouTube. How many of you watch it on YouTube, just for the hell of it? Oh, no one. Okay, so I'm glad to see that. Warm welcome to our visitors. I think we have one today. We hope you enjoyed today's meeting. And if you have any questions, see Ricky, Steve McCoy Thompson, or myself. So thank you for being here. And this is not Groundhog Day. I know you're like, why Steve up at the podium? Yeah, I know you did demote me, but I'm back like a bad, never mind. Anyway, Jim is at a wedding for his nephew. So he asked me to fill in for him, but he's doing great. So he'll be here hopefully in 2 weeks. So I think he's beaten my record already. No, yeah. So just do the same skit next year. Or yeah. So there you go. Save time, right? Yeah, exactly. All right. Ooh, God, easy. So I want to thank John Sensiba, who was our greeter. He's out there talking to Bill Wheeler. Look, they're getting real serious out there. We should get a mic out there and figure out what they're talking about. And Matt, where are you? Matt, thank you for your attendance. Where is Matt? He's getting food. Okay. You can see Matt had a little accident playing basketball. He's got a boot on his foot, but he told me the other guy looks worse. So anyway, and Jeff Williams, we haven't seen you for a while. So welcome back. Did you remember how to do the treasury stuff? Okay. Well, Kathy was there, so we know it's good. All right. And of course, Ricky, our wizard. Thanks, Ricky, for all that you do. And would someone like to start the pledge for me? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Okay, we're going to pause recording and we're going to do Happy Dollars and We Care. People go, have 9/11, not celebration, but what do we call it? Observation. Or I thought it would be appropriate that we sing this song.
With the full organ and everything that goes with it. All right, you guys ready? Here we go.
The great Don Lewis. Thank you, Don. Thank you. So a day we will never forget, right? So hopefully I have a quick story on that. One of our neighbors, her sister was on the flight. She was a flight attendant that flew into South Tower. And she was just an amazing person. And in fact, her future husband was a flight attendant on the same flight with her, and he also perished when they hit the South Tower. So anyway, just something that we should never forget. So thank you for playing that song. Next, we're moving to a Rotary International video. Did you find anything exciting for us? No, that's okay. So we'll. Okay. All right. Well, let's give it a shot.
Uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships, and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to come up with innovative ways to build sustainable housing and community centers. Everyone learning from each other. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. In your backyard and around the world, there's power in our connections. Take action with us. Find out more at Rotary.org.
Thank you, Ricky. And Julio's our International Rotary Committee Chair, and he's not here today, but I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you if you have any questions about giving to Rotary International. So next, I'd like to welcome any visiting Rotarians. I believe we have one in the house. Mr. McCoy Thompson, will you please introduce our guest?
Now, everyone all together now, right? From the club of Livermore.
Dublin.
Dublin. Oh, God. Oh, I bow to you. In the category of
electrical contractor.
Please welcome
Bob Tucknine. Welcome, Bob. Steve, I think I'll use someone else next time, but great job. Are there any guests or Rotarians here today? Mr. Schwagerly, you have a guest or you have a visiting Rotarian or? Oh, your lovely wife's back there. I didn't see her.
My better half, I guess she might be half Rotarian. I'm not sure, but anyway, the love of my life, and last week we celebrated 38 years of marriage, Phoebe.
Wow, fantastic. Wow, and so this was the celebration, bringing her to Rotary? You're a good man, Gary. You're a good Rotarian. Yeah, he got her a hamburger and French fries. We have a couple Zoomers, I think, on today. Dennis and Audrey. Dennis, how you doing?
Doing well. Can you hear me today?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Oh, good. My laptop was messed up last week, so it's good. Good to see everybody.
Where are you right now? You look like you're in a construction site. Where are you?
I'm in an undisclosed location in LA.
Okay. All right. We won't tell anybody. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. And Audrey, hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm back from lovely Italy, but I have a boatload of work on my desk, so I'm going to just join from here.
Good. Well, when you come to the next meeting, make sure you give me your gift when you're instead of Jim.
We'll take care of that.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Just want to clarify that. I think that's it. All right. Good. And then next, I can't wait for this. We have an inspiration from the one and only Mike Hosterman. Please get up for Mike. Yeah, well, we do have a time limit, Mike. We have a really important speaker today. Get some water here in case I choke up. Should I turn the mic on? Yeah. Turn it way down. There you go, sir. Yeah, it's on. Okay, trust me.
All right, guys and gals. So tried to come up with something inspirational. I was going to do a 9/11, and then I thought, no, we already did that yesterday, and then we did it already today. So I'm thinking, okay, what is inspirational? And what I look at to be inspirational is things around me that happen that I can laugh at, which happens frequently. So today I'm going to share some things with you that maybe, if we're lucky, will make you laugh. I spent most of the morning working on this, so we'll see how it works out. I've got enough that we won't have to worry about a program if we. Okay. So when you guys get tired of this, just let me know. Okay, so we'll start with some things that are kind of close to home. First one is my wife says I have two faults. I don't listen, and something else. I told my wife she should embrace her mistakes. She came over and gave me a hug. The Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi went down the other day for about 5 minutes. I had to talk to my family. They seem like nice people. My doctor, again, talking about my family, my doctor asked if anyone in the family suffers from mental illness. I said, no, we all seem to be enjoying it. Yeah, if I had $1 for every girl that found me unattractive, eventually they would all find me attractive. A recent study has found that women who carry a little extra weight live longer than the men who mention it. My therapist said I have a preoccupation with vengeance. We'll see about that. I think my neighbor is stalking me as she's been Googling my name on the computer. I saw it all through my binoculars last night. My therapist said my narcissism causes me to misread social situations. I'm pretty sure she was hitting on me. And let's see, how about for the last one? You may have heard this one before, but it's I think it's good. I know. And you'll hear him again next time it's my turn to be inspiration. I want to die peacefully in my sleep, like my grandfather, not screaming like all the passengers in his car.
Wonderful job. Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Brad, I think you're up to introduce our speaker for today. We're looking forward to hearing what he has to say. So yours.
Thank you, President Steve. Boy, it's sure nice to follow somebody like Mike Hosterman. Okay, some of you may be aware there's an election this year. And for those of you who are not, there is an election. The most important one is local. In April, we had a presentation from one member, Chief David Swing, and a soon-to-be member, Heidi Murphy, on fact dissemination on city finances. As such, they could not take a stand, but they did disseminate factual information. And as you're hopefully aware, eventually the city council adopted Proposition PP, which is a sales tax increase of 0.5%. So this year, they adopted putting it on the ballot. Thank you. That's only the third mistake I've made today. So whatever you do this year, the two most important things are, number one, study the issues and the candidates, and number two, vote intelligently. Because we've had some fact finding from the city today, our presentation is the other side of the coin. And our presenter is a man most of you know, Doug Miller. Doug Miller moved to Pleasanton with his family in 1991. He's a graduate of the University of Vermont, and he has a master's from the University of Southern California. Fresno State beat Southern Cal the last time they played them, you know. Okay. Doug has had a distinguished career in the military. He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, so obviously he's a close friend of Chris Miller. He has a family all involved in public service, and Doug, it was probably the most instrumental citizen in creating the Veterans Memorial, which I'm sure most of you have seen down at Pioneer Park. Please welcome Doug Miller.
Thank you, Brad. It's nice to be here again. I used to be a member of this club, and when I stopped working, I retired, but I feel like I need to come back. Okay, yeah. But before I go on, I do want to mention 9/11. Yesterday was 9/11. I went to a couple of 9/11 services, one at Fire Station 1 at 9:45 yesterday morning, the other out at Las Positas College. And I just want to mention them for just a second. I was able to talk about yesterday at Fire Station 1, the only casualty from the recent conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2011, March 29th, 2011, U.S. Army Specialist Jamison Linscott was killed in Afghanistan. He was a combat medic, and he was mortally wounded on the battlefield when his unit was ambushed. And for about 20 minutes on the ground before he passed, he gave instruction to his comrades on how to administer first aid. As a result, he was awarded the Silver Star posthumously by the Army. He grew up and lived just, well, where's Mike Hosterman? Yeah, so just down the hill from you, across in those houses on the other side of Vineyard is where he and his family lived for many years. And again, I wanted to remember that. We have a monument or a memorial to him at Fire Station 1 and a much bigger one over at Camp Parks. There is a brand new medical training facility that trains combat medics there. It's state of the art. It's awesome. And his name is on that building. So Jamison Linscott. I got involved in this because somebody asked me if I would, it was after a city council meeting, would get together with this person and maybe come up with some ideas. At that point, we'd already seen like an 8-page brochure in May from the city that said, hey, folks, there's a developing financial situation that we're going to have to confront. I still remember on page 3 of it, there were 12 bullet points about what the city's doing to address the potential deficit. And of the 12 items, only one was quantified. Only one contained a projected savings, and that was listed as about $2 million. So the city was looking, obviously, to save some money. What they came up with was a $2 million saving. That's grown to like $2.5 million. But that represents roughly 1% of the city budget, which is, I think, about $235 million. So that bothered me. Yeah. What is it? Okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, thank you. I don't know where I got that number then. Anyway, at the June meeting, there was a consultant pitching the sales tax measure and describing it. And what I found curious was that they did 2 surveys of the city. One, apparently it had an innocuous title, 75-word description of a 0.5% sales tax increase. And according to the consultant, that looked problematic in terms of passing. I think it was 52% to 48% that it might pass. So that was pretty close. And then they did another survey. They changed the title of the measure to the Essential Services Protection Act, which, at least to me, implied that there's a threat here. If we don't pass this sales tax increase, that whatever we like about the city might be impacted. And they were listed. So that bothered me. And then in the both July and June and July meetings, when this was discussed, I thought some of the city council members didn't really do the best they could in terms of presenting things or they didn't think much about what they were going to say. Councilmember Testa said, none of us up here are responsible for this budget situation. And I thought, well, she's been on there for 6 years. And what does that say about Mayor Brown? She's been on the city council for 12 years. Nobody disagreed with Julie. And that was troubling to me because every year, year after year, city council members, including the mayor, review the budgets. And they should be looking at budgets to see what's emerging. Jeff Nybert said in the July meeting, you know, imagine we're talking about a budget deficit. This wasn't even on my radar when I was elected. And that was only 2 years ago. But then I thought back, well, in 2018, the pension trust, the 115 pension trust was established by an earlier group of city council members. And that was to mitigate against the potential of a budget deficit driven primarily by the pension scheme that was retired essentially. So there's an old pension scheme that's been replaced by a newer one where employees put more money in for and work for a longer time, as I understand it. And I don't think there are the concerns about that there are about those that are going to be retiring in the next few years. So that was established. Today, there's $51 million in that. You get my slides up? There's $51 million in that 115 pension trust. So I think that's those are some of the preliminary things. So a few of us got together and wrote an argument against the measure. The measure PP will be on the ballot in November 5th. A bunch of us assembled, wrote the argument against it, including John Sensiba, who's here in the room, Steve Maher, who's been a longtime city school district employee and recently the president of the school board, Frank Capilla. People who are well known in town really were concerned about this. So, and then the other thing that bothered me is for several months, individuals would come before the city council when this thing was on the agenda and make recommendations about cutting here or cutting there or restructuring or outsourcing, things like that. And one by one and individually, they were summarily rejected. And those are my words, but people would say, well, that's not going to do it. You know, that's insignificant. Jeff Nybert said, it's just nibbling around the edges of our problem. And I'm kind of an even keel guy. I was a pilot in the military. You don't want to get all excited about stuff, but all of this stuff kind of led me to where I am here today and leading an effort to defeat this. So as I think has been covered probably by Heidi and Chief Swing before, the measure PP would increase the sales tax from 10.25% to 10.75%. And that is supposed to sunset in 10 years. That is estimated to provide about $10 million per year for 10 years or 100 million. And it's said it's going to address the city projected $13+ million deficit until I die, basically another 8 years. And the other thing about this is when you put something like a general revenue thing on the budget, it goes into the general revenue fund. And really, it can't be specifically withheld for some specific issue, like the pension reduction or something like that. Now, the city council could agree to do that, but there's elections every 2 years and things change, and it's in the general revenue fund. In order to put something on the ballot that is specifically directed to a specific need, that requires a 2/3 vote. And so that probably didn't look like it was possible based on what that consultant came up with. Next slide, please. So here's the projected deficit, more or less, broken down into 3 pots. And this is why we believe that this sales tax is not needed. We believe, for example, that it's more likely that the city will collect about $5 million more in property tax. Property tax, I think, represents about 60% of the revenue. Is that right? Oh, okay. So that's the big pot for the city. And the city budget for the next few years, to include this whole deficit issue, is projecting about 3.5% growth in property tax revenue, 3.5% growth. When you compare that to the last 10 years historical average of 5.5% growth, that represents a real reduction in what we will probably get. So if we were to assume a 4.5% growth for property tax, not the city's assumed 3.5%, not the 5% that's historical, we would get $5 million more in revenue. So that's a significant difference in the assumptions that the city is using and what we think is a reasonable and still conservative number. 4.5, not 5.5, that the historical number for the last 10 years. The next bucket over there of $5 million is what we believe could be pulled out of the 115 trust, which was established in 2018 to mitigate the likely balloon due to retirees under the old scheme. If we pulled out $5 million a year and it's doing well financially, we could draw $5 million a year out for the next 15 years and still have a little money left over. And again, that money was established specifically for the purpose of mitigating the expected balloon in pension expenses. And I'm not sure, I haven't been able to find this out for sure, but we've got another bucket over there with $2.5 million. And that represents what the city is saying they've saved going into this fiscal year. We don't believe, we'd like to see, but we don't believe that that's been factored into this budget in the next few years as well. So there's about almost $13 million, which represents the proposed or average budget. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit about how the budgets are constructed. You know, you look at your expenses, you make assumptions about, and you do this on a personal basis, on a household basis, you estimate, assume what your revenue, your income is going to be. And those are some of the elements. Yeah, I've got up there property tax is about 60% of the revenue for the city. So any swing in the revenue coming in from property tax is going to have a huge upside potentially or downside if there's a severe recession on our ability to fund our projects. Next slide. Okay. I mentioned budget assumptions, and those are just the best guess. And the city has budget experts. It hires consultants to provide information. It has consultants that provide specific information on the sales tax or the property tax, and they get reports and factor all of those in. And yet we believe, in spite of those reports, they've taken a very low view or projected a very low property sales tax revenue increase. But in the end, it's just the best guess. A lot of us in here run businesses. I should say you, I don't anymore. I had a small business, but you all know that you make assumptions about your budget next year, and sometimes you're off and sometimes you're right on, but it's an assumption. And that's what the city's done here. They've taken a very low basis for their tax revenues. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that the property tax thing, the city in the projected budgets have property tax at 3.5% increase. You can look over at the right side, looking at the historical averages. Property tax went up 5.5% on average for the last 10 years. The city is picking 3.5% increase. Sales tax, they're estimating a 2% increase. And sales tax over the last 10 years is 3.1. It's 50% higher on average over the last 10 years. So we don't understand why that is. We think that is wrong. We think that's having a huge impact on the budget and why they're asking for a $100 million sales tax increase. I frankly think if these numbers over here hold up, that the city will have $100 million windfall profit, essentially. If they pass this, if we pass the sales tax increase and the average numbers hold up for our revenue and not the ones the city's assumed, there's going to be $100 million, $10 million extra in the general fund every year. Maybe not quite. Maybe there's a little money that would have to come out of that to address some deficits, but I think the city's off by a significant margin. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I have to keep looking at this. The gremlins were at work when I was working on this yesterday. This is the first time we've shown this to anybody. And I was working on my laptop. It got a virus. So I was dealing with that. I switched over to my desktop and I found that the letter S would not type. So I had to cut and paste a capital S from a document into things that it was crazy.
I can help you.
Yeah.
Don't let them hear it.
Yeah. So anyway, there's some more on the PARS Section 115 trust. I've kind of covered that all. And we believe as a group that we can pull $5 million a year out of that trust. That's the purpose of it. It was established to smooth out that high bubble for pensioners who will be retiring in the next 10 years or so. Next slide, please. So what's the city's position on using that $51 million? Back in May, a city council agenda report dated May 24th says, and I apologize for all these words. It was a lot longer and I cut half of it out this morning, but using savings to balance a structural budget deficit is not a prudent strategy, the city has concluded. That's what it was for. Staff recommends using an annual amount of $3 or $4 million in the first few years only to bridge projected gap if needed, while the city continues to identify new revenue sources and implement further cuts. So we believe that the city is misusing that fund. It was established to smooth that curve, and the city, we believe, wants to sit on that money to provide a better credit rating for the city so they can borrow money for capital expenditures. So that's kind of it in a nut. Next slide. So this kind of summarizes it. 13 million deficit, minus 3 million spending cuts, minus 5 million additional property tax assumption, minus 5 million a year out of the 115 pension trust for 15 years. And we don't have a deficit. At least we don't have anything near like a $13 million deficit. So might be off by a little on these, but we believe that we're on solid ground here. I see letters coming up here. Really? Yikes, that's scary. Oh, okay. I'd say, what is AI, but I read. Yeah. Next slide. So that's it in a nutshell. We are an FPPC, California Fair Political Practices Committee or Commission established campaign. We filed with the state, we filed with the city, we have a bank account, we have a mailbox. We're going to be at Farmers Market starting this Saturday with flyers. I brought some. Yeah. So this is our first go around, and we're going to have yard signs printed with this logo. We expect to have a couple hundred yard signs out on the 21st of September when the city says we can put yard signs out. I've seen a lot of yard signs out from some people, by the way. Kind of interesting. So if you're so inclined, we'd love your help. We have a website called noonpleasantonsalestax.com. Seems pretty straight. noonpleasantonsalestax.com. You can read a lot more information that backs up what I've said here. There's a lot of information that we've developed, pretty strong arguments in my opinion, but take a look at it. As Brad said, become informed about these issues. I'm the last one that would want to see our cuts to fire and police. I'm a strong proponent of our public safety. I moved to Pleasanton in '91 because of the schools, and I stayed because of public safety. I love our police department and what they do. I really appreciate the fact that this is a wonderful community to live in, and I wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So with that, I'll take questions.
I'm a little biased.
No. No.
Yes.
Why are you biased? Why are you biased?
Oh, I was dating Mayor Brown.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I was also at the 9/11 memorial.
Okay.
And so I'm just a little confused on some of your numbers. The assumption for, I think it's a big assumption, that an increase of $5 million a year in property tax revenues. We're in a flat economy here right now with home sales being flat. People aren't moving out of Pleasanton because they like to live here. Where you get increased property tax revenues, I'm kind of, where does that come from? Is it from new homes being built? Is it from existing homes being turned over?
Existing homes being sold.
Right. So I'm just curious where that $5 million assumption comes from for growth.
Okay, so
The second one would be on the sales tax, excuse me, the $5 million from the pension trust fund. I'm looking at the pension trust fund as a obligation that we, the people of Pleasanton, owe to our firefighters and police officers who, when they got hired here, said, I'm going to get a pension. It's going to get paid by the city. And that trust fund is what's going to guarantee that payment over the year. And so you're saying that we can take $5 million a year from that trust fund. That's at $51 million a year. That's, to me, I'm doing simple math, 10% a year. Are we assuming 10% growth of the trust fund to be able to not to deplete it down? And so I'm just curious how we deplete it by $5 million a year, but keep it equal so that we can pay those obligations to those employees in the future. Those are my two major concerns.
Okay, so I'm sorry. You made a lot of points and helped me remember them as I try to answer all of that. And so the last one had to do with the pension trust fund. And what I tried to explain in here was that in 2018, the city council at that time saw this bubble coming with these retirements coming under the old scheme of retirements. And they looked at that as a problem for about 10 or 15 years. And they said, that's going to cost us more each year than what we're normally running at. We need to start saving for that. So the purpose of that trust fund was not to build a permanent pot of money forever. It was to address a problem that was viewed to exist in the mid-20s to mid-30s. And at that point, we'd be on the new retirement scheme, and this pension fund, this trust fund would no longer be needed to address the reasons for which it was established.
You know what the total, I don't, I'm just curious, you know what the total pension liability over the next 15 years is in the city of Pleasanton, but it's more, I think it's more than.
Yeah, but it gets paid each year. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So it gets paid every year. And yes, it's a big number. It's maybe 180 million or something like that. Yeah.
Litigation there, there's a city council like that. Obviously, a lot of.
But I've got a document here signed by Nelson Fialo in 2018 that talks about how to use that money. And it's specifically for what we're starting to encounter. And it wasn't built to be a savings fund for the city forever. It was to address a specific problem during a specific period of time. That's why we're recommending that the city pull $5 million out a year, and they can do that for 15 years before they get to near nothing. So that's our recommendation for that fund. And I'm sorry. It will take all the money that's been put in over the past 6 years.
That fund from 51 million today to zero in 15 years.
Yes,
Okay.
roughly.
So
Roughly, it depends.
Our obligation to police officers and firefighters that have retired, that are going to be retiring and are hired today, there would be completely relied on what the city contributes to their pensions after 15 years, because this trust fund would be depleted.
This trust fund would be depleted. It was established to be depleted.
I understand that. And
It was
established to do this very bubble.
address a bubble.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
after that, our regular budget will take care of our pensioners.
Got it. Just want to make sure I understand the position for the no MPP for that. The first question I had was about your assumption on increased real estate property taxes. Where does that assumption that's going to grow at 5% or 5.5% come from?
Okay, so I tried to show that up here. It's based on the average growth of property taxes, average increase of property taxes over the last 10 years, not the last year, not the last 3 years. The average over the last 10 years, it has grown 5.5%.
Got it.
We're saying if you just assume 4.5% growth, you're going to see another $5 million a year into the budget. They're assuming, the city's assuming a 3.5% increase, which seems abnormally low to me. I'm not well, actually, I am an economist. I got a college degree in economics. Forgot about that. But anyway, that's where it comes from. Tried to be very simple about this. We're looking at historical rates of sales of property tax increase. It's been an average of.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find that slide that showed the.
Back right there. Yeah. So, yeah, up here, you'll see the actual average growth over 10 years for property taxes have been 5.5%. And that's because even though, my property tax base is based on, my rate is based on me moving here and buying our first house in, sorry, I do better than that. first house in 1991. I'm still living off of that. But eventually I'm going to die or move out of here or something. And that property tax base is going to go from, I think I'm paying $6,000. It's going to go to 20 grand a year. That's a dramatic increase on my house. And new houses are sold, the same thing happens. Existing houses are sold. So it's, I think, a very conservative assumption.
Okay.
Yep.
That's why I want to make, so that difference of projected growth of 3.5 versus a 5.5 of the actual annual for the last 10 years, that 2% difference is worth 5 million a year.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
1%.
Sure.
Maybe helps your question too. John, tried to point you just the guy. I usually don't need a microphone like some of us. So, John, here's a question. Have we realized the cost, the sales tax or the property tax on properties that have increased since 2002, 2003, 2004? We had a 10 or 15% increase in a very short amount of time. Have those been realized, or are those starting to be realized? Like, when does that get adjusted? How soon can that happen? If your house has gone from a $1.5 million house to a $2 million house, they're going to assess you a $500,000 additional tax. Was it take a year to catch up, a year or 2 years to catch up, or is it immediate in the same sales year? Property, yeah, 2%. Yeah, there's still increase, but it doesn't increase as fast as the market does.
Uh,
You won't see the realization for a few years. Okay, thank you.
So I bought my house. It's not like you. I'm under Prop 13. I have less than $5,000 a year property tax. If it gets sold tomorrow, new owner would pay plus $20,000 in property taxes. I get that. And so my property taxes go up a very small amount based on Prop 13. And I think a lot of people in this community love this community. They stay here. It doesn't turn over as nearly as much as other communities because of the very reasons we want to live here. Public safety, great school, great community. And so I'm just concerned about that 2% delta between those two numbers. Is that an estimate? Is that really going to happen? I don't know if it's $5 million. I'd just like to see where the 5 million comes from.
We're saying 1%. Right now, the city for the budget is assuming a 3.5% growth, which you might think is high based on what you say. Historically, over 10 years, as I'm trying to say, property tax revenue has grown by 5.5%. So if it was 5.5%, next year and the year after, it wouldn't be $5 million more. It would be $10 million more. So, you know, that's the history. And this is the way you make assumptions normally based on history, somewhere within that. So is a recession coming next year? Doesn't look like that to me. Would the county go back and readjust down our property tax rates dramatically? It would take them a while to do that, I think. So anyway.
Richard, respect, I think we need to get some more questions.
I just wanted to share one thing because I study this, as you guys know me as Mr. Rotarian, but I actually in my job present myself as the mortgage wise guy, and I study a lot of this stuff about property taxes and home appreciation. And if we do go through a recession, 7 of the last 8 recessions, property values have gone up in even through recessions because interest rates are lower and it's an opportunity for people to buy. So just because we go through a recession, even if that were to happen, that's not a negative towards property values. It's probably historically going to be a positive. The only exception was 2008 when we had the Great Recession because of the mortgage excesses and we had all these stupid loans that should never have been. Well, that's been regulated out, so that's not going to happen again. So my point being, even if we did go through a recession, you're not going to see property values go down. Nobody is projecting that, and the fundamentals don't suggest that going forward. That's it.
Thank you. Bob Tucknott.
What about on the spending side? I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but politically it's a terrible idea to go out and spend a couple of $1 million renovating a park that we don't have to renovate. Just keep it going, or any excess spending. And there was another one that was some more spending out of the city.
So best case on that, so that was made, that decision to release that contract to rebuild Lions Wayside Park was last week at City Council.
And
And,
so if there's no money or projected no money, why go out and spend more that you don't have to? You'd have to tighten your belt. If our personal incomes go down for business or whatever reasons, we can't get extra revenues, and especially to pay sales tax. As one last point, as a contractor, we don't just spend household sales tax. We have to pay sales tax on all the materials on a job site. And that can be at $500,000 worth of sales is quite a bit of money, and all this stuff going on in construction is gonna pump up in the contract. You can't get that much money for you buy the stuff out of the area.
Thanks. Nice presentation. Thank you. So I actually I have a question. One of the arguments in favor of this proposition is that most of the taxes are going to be paid by people outside of Pleasanton, but it's not going to fall on Pleasanton citizens, pretty much because of the restrictions. It's not on groceries, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know what the percentage estimate
I
of
don't
this
know.
tax will
I
be
don't
paid
know.
by outsiders?
No, I don't know, but
Do you
where
know?
do you,
I don't know that number either, Doug, but I think I cleared up some confusion earlier in your presentation. On the city's website, total expenditures for the fiscal year ended 2024 are 235.7, but that includes both operating, which I think is 150 million, which you mentioned, plus capital. So I think that's where you got your number.
For Jacob. Here you go, Jake. He's been waiting.
Yeah, so I'm analytical. So I make decisions based on data. And so if the total expenditures are 237 million, where's my number? A budget deficit, if total expenditure 237 million, the 2.5 million that the city says they have saved equals 1% of the total budget. If it's 150 million city budget expenditures, the 2.5 million that's been saved is 1.6% of budget. Companies are now making 10% layoffs. So to me, 1.6% when there's a crisis is a low number, but I'm analytical. So my question for you, Doug, or for anybody that can answer this question is it possible to get from the city a line item list of where money is being spent so that we can then decide, whether it makes sense to possibly cut this line or that line? I don't know. That information would help me make a decision. That's my question. Well, we'll close with Heidi because we're running out of time.
I'd just like to share two things. One, that yes, the city's budget is totally acceptable. It's online. You can access it. If you have additional information, staff will answer any of your questions. Secondarily, there is more info coming from the city. So I think most of you probably have seen it, but the city council packet for next Tuesday is published. One of those items is a budget item. The other one's all the fun programs that Library and Recreation has done in the last year. So please, if you want to stay abreast, stay tuned. The city is providing information and happily can provide extra information as you need it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Doug, for your bringing these. Well, obviously, this is going to be a stimulating election coming up. We haven't talked about all the other folks that are going to be on the ballot, so we won't, and we won't be today. So there we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then one question I had, and you don't need to answer it, but I mean, Costco's opening soon, Bill's favorite project in the city. And is that, hopefully that tax revenue is being added into the revenue. Okay. Wow. Wow.
And that just on itself, and the absent, just the absent brings in the 10 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff not taxable. Right?
Yeah.
Food products. It doesn't come
Yeah.
to us either.
Yeah. Right. Well, anyway, so yeah.
They're gonna do it again. You guys haven't been over there yet. It's over there on Johnson Drive. That's that old bridge. It's nice. Right next to the giant.
Right behind Black Tie.
Yeah, I can't see black tie anymore. It's covered up. And how many gas stations? Okay, all right. I'm really glad I asked that question. So Mike, where are we going to be next week for our third Thirsty Thursday?
Okay, so next week, we're gonna have a third Thirsty Thursday. We've gone back and forth. Mark Tanis suggested, and it has been approved by myself.
There's Mark.
We're gonna meet at the Doubletree.
All right.
Which is over in your neighborhood, Bill. Isn't it? Hey, Wheeler, pay attention.
Yes, sir.
Isn't the Doubletree over in your neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're gonna have third Thirsty Thursday over there. You can check out Costco. You can go buy Bill's. If you need to make a pit stop, use a restroom, I'm sure he'll let you in his place.
Actually, I use the bathroom at the Doubletree.
Yeah. It's cleaner there. Yes. Oh, yeah.
And then the other thing, if I could be so bold to take another 15 seconds. We have progressive dinner coming up.
Oh, yeah.
On
Progressive dinner.
September 28th. We have 33 people signed up so far. We're trying to get another, I think, 14 or 15 people so we can fill up all the houses. Today is the deadline. So if you plan on coming, you should send me an email so I can put you on the list. And then if you haven't paid, you should pay $25 a person. And I think that'll do it.
November 3rd, November 9th.
Cocktail.
Hey, I'm not done talking yet, Bill. I've
Cocktail
got
party.
that on my list. Thank
Cocktail
you.
party at Tom Fox's. I saw Tom back here, so I thought we should give him a shout
We're
out.
trying to remain some candor here. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mike?
I think that'll do.
Okay, good. Awesome. So just a reminder, and all know Ricky and I sit on the Sunflower Hill Board of Directors. We have a big gala on September 21st at Black Hawk Museum, and we're still looking for some helpers, some volunteers. You may meet some really fabulous people there, but we need people to just check out the different paddles and auctioneers and live auction, all that good stuff. So if you're interested, see Ricky, right? Ricky? Yeah.
Yes, if you'd like to volunteer.
Tom raised his hand. Oh, okay.
That is a two-holer. And also previous pictures, we've also added some seating, there's the seating we've added. That's it from Candlestick. We got those seats.
Yeah.
So we got lots of room. So everybody sign up. We'd like to have you.
All right, good. Very nice. Thanks for sharing that, Tom. And then back to Ricky and the Sunflower Hill Gala. Did you want to add anything, Ricky? Volunteers?
We'd greatly appreciate a volunteer. Please see me. We need 2 or 3 more volunteers to be spotters and to help with registration and those sorts of things. So if you, we're full up, we're completely sold out, and we would just love a little assistance for Rotarians who love to volunteer. Please see me.
Great. Thank you, Ricky. Just some updates on the Halloween Spirit Run first. We are now at 258 registered. Last year at this time, we were at 141. So we're doing good. And I was just approached by an anonymous donor that is willing to match the title sponsorship since we don't have one this year of $7,500. So we need another $7,500 to get to that 15,000 level. They are, and we could split that in a couple ways. So I'd like you all to think about that. We really would love to get a title sponsor this year because we've been so kind to have John Sensiba's company be the title sponsor for many, many years. So it really will help the revenue that we receive from the run. So keep that in mind and let me know if you have any thoughts about that. And then wheelchair distribution, November 2 through 9, Lima, Peru. Anything else? And where? Arequipa. Yes. All right, good.
If everyone in Machu Picchu go now or soon, they're gonna close it, okay? At some point in the next 3 years. Speed open run, completely speed left there 15 years. It is an amazing place to see and go to, but if you ever wanted to do it, now's the time.
Machu Picchu. All right, great. And then I just quickly, we have some major birthdays here today. Larry Annis, Kathy Alameda, and John Sensiba, all September birthdays. So we're not going to sing happy birthday. Sorry, we don't have enough time for that, but thank you for the honor. And I think Gary mentioned it, 38 years anniversary. Congratulations. So on that note, we are done. Oh, that's right. We got to.
All right, $84 today.
$84.
4680. Last four.
Bill Burke. Bill, you got the number? No?
Got 4680.
4680. Doug, you looking for in your pockets? Okay. Check the, no? 4674. Hold on, Doug. Did you got a number there? You got it? What do you got? Yes. Well, he's got to pick. Yeah, pick one. And if you get the man, oh no, you're a loser on that one. Sorry. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for your help, and you'll be happy. I will not be running this meeting for who knows how long. So we are adjourned.